And I remember just putting my hand up to my head and pushing my hair out my face. I didn't just push it out my face, but the whole lot just dropped away in my hands. When I was younger, I really wanted to be a ballet dancer. I loved ballet, I loved music, and often would spend all my free time dancing in the living room or dressing up and having my friends around and making up our own shows for everybody to be subjected to watching. I'd come home from school one day and went to do my homework, which I hated doing, but I struggled at school, didn't enjoy school anyway. So went to do my homework and felt a bit pain in my shoulder. So I wasn't really disappointed to have an excuse to stop homework and go and ask my mum if there was any swelling or if it was red or anything. And I was a bit surprised actually when she said that it was swollen and red. So we went to see an emergency doctor, and the doctor said that I had got a muscle spasm and that the muscle spasm should go in 2 or 3 days' time. But 2 or 3 weeks later it still hadn't gone. So we went back to my GP and he examined me and said that I had got a curvature of the spine, a scoliosis, and that I would need to go and see a specialist at the Spinal clinic in Nottingham, Queen's Medical Centre. So after going there for a few appointments, they looked into different tests, one of which was an MRI scan, and it was there that they discovered that I'd got tumours all the way up my spine. And he said, no, you've got cancer in your brain and your spine, and we're going to have to give you something called chemotherapy, and this chemotherapy is a very strong medicine and you'll probably lose your hair as well. My hair was very long, it was below my shoulders, below my elbows. It was something I used to love doing things with. It was part of me, my personality. And I was more upset actually that I was going to lose my hair than I'd got cancer. I thought, how can I ever leave the house without my hair? And I remember thinking, God, I don't know why I'm going through this, but I do know that you're there with me. And I know that you're not going to leave me on my own through this. You're going to help me through it. So when I first started going in for my treatment for the chemotherapy on the children's ward, I used to take things to try and just to keep myself occupied really. And I had this little kit. It's like a modelling balloon paste, and you take about a pea-sized amount of this coloured paste, whether it's red, blue or yellow. I pop it on the end of a tube like a straw and blow through it, and you blow your own little balloon, seal the end off and have a little bubble to play with. And I used to think, well, maybe I can cheer some of these children up as well. So they used to love it. Used to ask what colour. I used to say, what colour would you like? And then after a while I used to start getting requests like, can you do one on top of the other like a snowman, or can you put one inside the other? So yeah, it was really nice because I thought if I can just make them smile, it made me happy to see that I could just cheer them up for just a few minutes. But yeah, it was a little kit that I used to carry around with me all the time. I remember feeling one day particularly ill and not quite knowing what to do with myself, and in the end just sat to watch a film. I think it was Mary Poppins. Just something cheerful, light-hearted to try and distract myself. And I remember just putting my hand up to my head and pushing my hair out my face. And I didn't just push it out my face, but the whole lot just dropped away in my hands. And I just went to pieces, cried. I said to Mum, I can't cope with this. I don't, just cut it all off. So in the end, we just shaved it all off because I couldn't bear to watch it all come out like that. And I said, I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to someone that can help me. But who could I talk to? I was 12 years old. All my friends were at school, or people I knew would be at work. And then I remembered a good friend from church, John. John was retired, and I thought, yeah, I can talk to John. So Mum phoned him and he came straight round. And I was still in quite a state. I was just really in tears. And he said, what are you crying for? What's the matter? What are you scared of? He said, are you scared of dying? I said, where do you go if you die? I said, well, I'll go to be with Jesus. Are you scared of going to Jesus? He said. I said, no, but I'm just scared of how I'm going to get there. And he says, well, we don't have to worry about that. He says, we're going to pray, and God's still here with you. I knew when I asked Mum to phone him, we'd ask for the right person, and he really helped me and put me at ease a bit more, and I felt a lot better. And we prayed together, and John would often come and see me after that, and came round most weeks to see me and to talk and to pray together. Yeah. They thought over Christmas that things were going to be getting better, but the pain got worse and we couldn't control it with the painkillers that I was on. So we went back to the specialists, and they did another scan and found that although some of the tumours had shrank from the areas they were looking at before, it had spread up through my neck. And Mum and Dad actually went back for the results of this scan by themselves, and they were told that there wasn't anything else they could do for me really, and that we'd kind of run out of options. The ride home for Mum and Dad, that journey, I can't imagine how awful that must have been, having to come home and work out what they were going to do next and how they were going to tell me. They said that they could try me with a mild chemotherapy. And I'm thinking, a mild chemo when the major chemo hasn't worked? But when they offered it me, I said, yeah, I'll try anything. I just want to try anything that works. This chemo was also oral chemo, so it would mean I would have to drink it. So I had to drink every night for 3 weeks, about this much of the chemotherapy, but diluted with, however much I could cope with. They suggested a soft drink. I'd got to drink it because it was going to do me some good, but so tempted just to toss it into the nearest plant pot. For a while I was on this oral chemotherapy, but getting worse actually. My weight went down to about 4 stone. I couldn't eat anything. Even the smell of food just made me really sick, made me physically sick just to smell food sometimes. I remember something that John again said about how God doesn't always take us out of a situation. We can pray that he will take us away from this situation, and sometimes he might, but he might not. But when he doesn't, he won't just leave us there on our own. He doesn't always take us out of a difficult situation, but he'll take us through it. So in the end they decided, well, we've got to do something, and they put a feeding tube down. It used to make me laugh because they used to ask me what flavour I wanted the liquid feed going into this tube. Did I want banana flavour, chocolate flavour or strawberry? And I thought, well, I can't taste it anyway, so why does it matter? Yeah, I used to make the medical staff, or the doctors and nurses, laugh actually when they came into my room. Every time I was in hospital, they'd come into my room and they said, wow, where are all these cards from? I've never seen any one person with so many cards. Well, they're all from friends of my family and people at church, and actually people that I don't even know really, but they're all praying for me, and they believe that God is going to help me, and yeah, just help me through it all. And it's always been something that's amazed me, and that I'm really grateful for, with the support and the help that I got from my family and my church and friends, and actually, like I said, people that I don't actually know in person, but I knew were praying for me. Mum, she only told me years later that she used to be scared to come downstairs in the morning to my bedroom because she was scared that I'd died in the night. Really awful. Yeah, so it was when I was really, really upset and really struggling with everything that was going on with the chemotherapy. And I think my sister had gone to Explorers, the children's club. And it just made me remember something that we used to sing, one of the songs that we used to sing at Explorers, that went, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I remember that was one of it was a promise from God, that he He wouldn't ever leave me and ever forsake me. And because it's a promise that God made, God never breaks a promise. Yeah, I just kept getting stronger and stronger. And in the end, they said, well, something seems to be happening. We can't explain why it's happened. But you seem to be strengthening. And they did another scan and were surprised to find that it was halting the tumours. So the tumours hadn't gone, and they still haven't gone even now, but it was halting the growth of them. I'd started college by this time, and just done my first year doing art and design, with hopefully going to university years later and doing designing costumes for theatre or wedding dresses. But it was just at the end of my first year that I went back to the spinal unit, because I was having more and more trouble with my back and with breathing. And previously to this, they said that I wouldn't be able to have the surgery because I wouldn't be strong enough and I just wouldn't recover or cope with it. But they said that they thought that I was now, and that they needed to, if they were going to do something, they needed to do it now, really. He explained to me that the operation would be done in two separate parts. The first one, they operated and they take out a few of the vertebrae of my spine to give my spine space to stretch and to go from being bent to straight. But it has to be done through something called traction. And in an operation, they put a metal ring around my head called a halo, and that is screwed through my skull with some big metal screws, two in the front and two at the back. And then attached to that is a kind of contraption that will take weights. So it stretches me from being bent ever so slightly, very, very slowly and gradually. And after the 2 weeks of having the traction, they did the second operation where they put the rods in. And there's two rods, one each side of the spine, and it's screwed in each side into the little bits that stick out the side of each vertebrae. When I came out of that one, Mum said I looked like I'd been in a fight. She says I was hardly recognisable, my face was black and blue because I'd been on my face for the whole time. I had to learn to walk again after that, so a lot of physiotherapy. I'd had the halo removed during the surgery, so I didn't have to worry about that, thankfully. I think after I spent about 12 weeks in hospital, I went home, and I was fortunate enough to get home just in time for my brother's 21st birthday. And it was really nice, it was a really great night, all his friends that came round, and everyone made sure that I didn't have to get up or get anything I wanted. They all rallied around me to make sure I had all the food and treats that I wanted. I was on the ward. I actually had my own room, which was really nice. One of the doctors came in and she'd got a red metal tool case. And I thought, a doctor doesn't usually go around with a toolkit, and you're not fixing the light because that should be done by a mechanic and it's not broken anyway. And she says, oh, we're going to put that metal ring, the halo, back on because we need to make sure that you can't move your neck before we do the operation. And I said, oh, so when am I going to surgery then? She says, oh, you're not. We're going to do it here with a local anaesthetic. So they're drilling these metal screws, 4 of them, 2 in the front of my head and 2 in the back, with a local anaesthetic, which didn't seem to work. And I must have screamed the place down because I felt most of it. I think my body was in shock. I was just still screaming for quite a while after that. Remembered what John used to say about, he used to say to me that God's grace is sufficient, and that God doesn't always give us the strength and the help to go through something before we do it. He gives it to us when we need it. And he said that often if God gave us the strength to do something before we needed to do it, next time we had problems, we'd do it in our own strength. I admit I would probably do it in my own strength, fail, and then blame God for it. But when we do something in God's strength, we grow, and our strength grows in God, and we learn a lot. And my faith really grew a lot through that time. After we did the surgery to repair the spine from the break, I had to wear this like a straitjacket with these bars that were attached to the halo ring, so that it kept my neck and my head in that set position whilst the spine was repairing. But I had to wear this straitjacket with these bars for 6 weeks, and it was 6 weeks over Christmas. So just at that time when everyone gets together and you can hug each other, I couldn't do that because I've got these bars in the way. And that really upset me, actually. I can't even hug anyone because I've got these bars separating me. That was really hard that Christmas. But I tried to do what I could to keep with the fun of it all, and even put tinsel sort of helter-skelter around the outside of these bars. And I remember Dad taking me, walking me to the carol service at our church. So I was in the wheelchair, and just remember the cold, and it feeling like the cold was going straight through these metal screws, and almost like freezing my head from the inside out, because metal conducts heat and cold, and it just felt like I got ice in my head. It was horrible. I can't even cope with one day. How am I ever going to cope with 6 weeks of this? And I was in the hospital room, I had my own room, just crying and saying, God, I can't do this. I can't do 6 weeks of this. God, I don't know why I'm going through this, but I do know that you're there with me. And I know that you're not going to leave me on my own through this. You're going to help me through it. I don't know what it was, but God just really helped me that night. And I just remember almost feeling like he's got his arms around me. The specialist said he can't speak for my head, but I've got no screws loose in my spine. And he says, I don't want to see you again. I said, I don't want to see you again either. Which is nice. We just have a laugh about everything, really. Yeah. So I still walk with crutches when I'm out of the house. If I'm in the house, I don't need to, because there's plenty of walls to hold me up. So I actually went back to college and did a few more years. And whilst I was at college, was hoping and considering to go to university, but came to the conclusion that I wouldn't cope with it and wouldn't manage. And then also through that, figured that even having a job I wouldn't be able to have a job. But I do a lot of craft work. I make cards and jewellery, and love baking, cake decorating, things like that. And do a lot of activities at the church as well, so the coffee morning. A very busy week, love it. I'm content, and I wouldn't have my life any other way. I'm happy and I'm content. I've stopped comparing my life with anybody else's. So it's only when you compare your life with other people's that you realise you think you're missing out. Actually, you're not missing out. There are things in your life that God's chosen. So God's chosen this for me. I don't know why, and I've even come to a point where I feel I don't need to know why, because all I need to know is that God's got it in control and that I can trust him with that. God is there for us, and if we trust him, he won't let us down. He won't fail us. We just have to trust him. Trust the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In everything you do, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.